Welcome to the Shmiros HaLashon class. The Chofetz Chaim said, what? And we are start with a Q&A. And as for the request of my mother, maybe we'll do all four that I've saved because they do all sound very interesting. The first one, she's got to act nicer. Can I say so? After experiencing some personal challenges, Leora, a friend of mine, moved to a new community where my sister Shandy lives to try to make a fresh start. I met Leora recently and asked her how she's adjusting. She burst into tears and told me that she's having a hard time and just in general and making friends. The people here are so unfriendly. Even your own sister Shandy practically ignored me when I saw her at the supermarket. Question. I know Shandy will be more warm and inviting once she hears how Leora feels, but she might feel upset with Leora for criticizing her like that. Can I tell Shandy what Leora said about her? Ooh. I feel like this has to do with one little part that we learned about. I don't think it was last class, but the class before. No, it was last class. We did discuss it last class.
Oh no, sorry about the squeaking. Maybe I wouldn't say what she said, but I would say, oh, I don't know if you realized, Shandy moved to the community. Maybe you could be nice to her because she's new, she doesn't know anyone. Something like that. Maybe you can have her over for Shabbos, have her go to coffee, get to know each other, and introduce her to other people when you get to know, something like that. Sorry, I'm going to put it on mute because it's really loud.
No, I think that's definitely a really nice way of, you don't need to say, oh, she said that you were rude and basically ignored her, but say, oh, I don't know if you know that, but my friend moved into town and I would really appreciate it if you made an extra effort to be nice to her and to invite her to different events or over to your house and make sure that she feels welcome because she feels really out of place. That's a really nice way. It doesn't mean that we need to say the negative thing that was said, because one thing that we pointed out is you're allowed to lie for the sake of peace. And just as Hashem said when he was speaking to Abraham and when Sarah found out that she was going to have a baby and she laughed and she said, we're old, and Hashem didn't say that she said that Avram was old. Hashem just said, oh, Sarah said that she's old. So just to, leave that part out, like last classes about, concealing and maybe keeping some information in. You don't need to necessarily say, by the way, she said you were really rude. Sometimes we don't need to point that out. She could have been very distracted, right? So yeah, I agree with you.
That's what I was gonna say. You don't know. I mean, she didn't mention anything. Maybe her kids were with her, and she didn't know. The girl didn't notice, and or maybe she's supposed to get in and get out and get home.
Right.
You don't know.
Sure, like you said, she was at the supermarket, so it's always a busy time, especially, we don't even know if it was something that was right before Shabbos, and she was just trying to get things ready and was very preoccupied. Anyone else have anything else to say about it?
You and your mom covered it all.
Yeah, you got it. Would it maybe possibly be okay to say what Leora said about Shandy?
It won't be okay because if the idea is Kiru and you tell her, hey, she said that you kind of ignored her, that will already will bring her some negative feeling. Is so no need to say anything about that, but yes, need to say, hey, can you pay attention? There's a new girl in town.
Right. Yeah, it's a great answer. Let's see. Since telling Shandy what Leora said may cause Shandy to have hard feelings toward Leora, it would be Rechilas. However, since Rechilas for Tuelis is allowed, you would be able to tell Shandy. It would be much better to tell Shandy that Leora found that overall the new community has been unfriendly. You could then ask Shandy to please be warm and friendly to her. You don't have to mention that Leora felt specifically that Shandy's welcome was cold. which I find very interesting because they're saying this is toelas to help someone, but like we were mentioning, I mean, obviously I trust Rabbi Zev Smith. I'm sure he's learned a lot longer than I have. But it is very interesting. They're saying that there's a toelas, there's a constructive purpose to say, hey, the community overall has been very unfriendly to her, and please make an extra effort to make her feel welcome. Interesting. It's good.
Well, that's more generalization. It's not saying something about Shandy herself.
Right. It's not between
So
the two.
generalization is okay. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Right. And they're saying like there's a toelas, but maybe don't make it just about her, just about the overall community, which is also what she said. My mother doesn't even know. Next question. My sister Shuli was distraught when my mother subtly criticized one or two of the choices she made for her oldest son's bar mitzvah celebration, and she shared his feelings with me, her sister. And shared his feelings. Okay. My mother is such a sensitive person who always goes out of her way not to hurt anyone. She would feel terrible knowing that someone, especially her own daughter, has hard feelings against her. May I tell my mother that her words really made Shuli feel bad? So this is just like within the family.
I think yes.
As a mother, you say yes.
As a mom, I say yes. I want to know. I don't want to hurt my babies.
Yeah. So if chas v'shalom, you said something that hurt me, which would not ever happen, and I was like, Eliza, this really hurt my feelings. And then Eliza, you think you'd be fine if Eliza said, hey, what you said really hurt Mariah's feelings.
Yes.
I'm so sensitive.
Her sister should go to her mom. Say, hey, go to your mom.
So Eliza's saying it's not just Eliza going to you and saying, this hurt Mariah, but rather than Eliza and I talking, and then Eliza just said to me, just tell her that it bothered you or that it hurt you, and then I would tell you myself because I love you.
You're my baby, and I love you too. Both of my babies. All my babies.
So yeah, and then that honestly, then when I feel like in the first place, just the fact that the sisters shared their feelings with each other, it could have been for a toelas, unless they do nothing about it, and then it's just complaining and then keeping those hard feelings, God forbid. And if she says nothing and then just says, like, I don't know, I feel like in the first place, the fact that they spoke to each other is a problem if they didn't work it out. But if they did work it out, then it's for a constructive purpose. Does that make sense? It's not really part of the question, but I don't know. It's the fact that they spoke to each other in the first place. Because we know even between families and even between siblings, things can still be lashon hara, right? Like with Miriam speaking to Aaron about Moshe and his situation, and she just had concern for him, but she still got tsaras. So, okay, so Elisa's saying just the sister, the person, the sister's having the problem should go to the mom and say that that it bothered her.
Absolutely.
Especially since a lot of thought probably went into this bar mitzvah, and it's like the choices were already made. Anything else? Does anyone else think that it would maybe be a problem that the sisters spoke to each other? Do you think that that's probably fine since they have that one person that they... Speaking of sisters,
Well, I think it's beautiful for sisters to be able to speak to each other and have that closeness too.
So close.
And give each other, oh, that's my baby.
The closest we've ever
Well, and give each other advice.
Oh, welcome, Circa. I can't see everyone that's on it. Yeah, exactly.
I think it have to do a lot maybe with the relationship in the family. Like if it's a really close family, like over here, situation here, Yes, you can either go straight. Both cases will be fine. Your sister will either tell you just go to your mom, and you also want to feel comfortable to go to your mom.
Right.
So it's really depend on the city, the family energy. Like how I think the girl that got hurt, if it's close family, she should stay. Or I don't know. I know I would have said something to my mom, but in a nice way. Like
Right.
it bothered her. Know that it bothered her. If the mom is very sensitive, she obviously will care that she hurt her. So
Right.
she would not want to do something, and if she knew that she did something to her, she will want to know.
Right. Yeah, and that's very true, especially when you spoke about relationship. Baruch Hashem, um, your mother, who's neshama, should have an aliyah. It seems
Amen.
that you had a very
Amen.
very nice relationship with her. And with my mother, Baruch Hashem, I'm blessed to have a very nice relationship with her. I know Baruch Hashem with Circa too.
Baruch Hashem.
And I
Baruch
know
Hashem.
you guys all have very good relationships. We all have amazing relationships with our parents, with our mothers, but maybe other people, like in this situation, maybe they weren't as blessed. Maybe the mother is that typical Jewish mother type, that Jewish mother trope where the mother is very critical and it doesn't matter what you say, but who knows, right? So it's very true. It's very true. We don't know what their family type is like. So maybe the daughter would feel uncomfortable going to her mother, which is very sad. But yeah, definitely understandable. So let's see what they said. May I tell? Okay, so the question was, may I tell my mother that her words really made Julie feel bad? This question has to be weighed carefully because it poses a risk of rechilos. You might make your mother feel bad because Julie told you that she was offended and she didn't go straight to your mother. Right? Try to encourage Julie to approach your mother herself, to tell her that she was hurt. Most likely, your mother will patch things up quickly, especially since you describe her as so sensitive. If you can't convince Julie to speak directly to your mother, you're permitted to tell your mother so that she can appease Julie if possible. Get Julie's permission before approaching your mother. So it's exactly as everybody said. It's exactly as everyone said. So you guys will do
We're good students, huh?
the best. The best. Baruch Hashem, I'm so blessed. Baruch Hashem to have students. Love it. Okay, schmooze about the news. We're gonna use the most of the class doing this, but we're gonna do it. And also, I think Principle 4 is gonna. It might take a couple classes, so we'll have to do it into the other class anyway. Today's Jewish magazines and newspapers are a big part of my life. They keep me updated with news and recipes and provide my weekly dose of entertainment. Very often, when talking to friends or acquaintances, I'll quote a line that I read in a specific magazine, and it will lead to a discussion about the various Jewish magazines and newspapers and what people like or don't like about the authors, specific articles, points of views, etc. Is it okay to give my opinion and describe what I like or don't like about each? Is it so that is the main question. I feel like I know what the answer is. That's a very good question. I think we had questions similar, but what are your thoughts?
I think in this case, because it's an opinion and it's a public opinion and it's like a discussion, like how you do the book reading and then you discuss about the book and all, I think it's on the same scale. Like if it's on the news and they open the news, it's my opinion. I didn't say anything bad about the author. Well, it also depends on what I say, yes. So I can say I don't care for the writing or something like that, just not talk bad about the person itself, about the author itself. But if it's opinions, my opinion is that that book or that article is just not my kind. Oh,
Right. It's like not my cup of tea. So you should be able to have an opinion. You're saying whether it be negative or positive, or only really if it's positive and you're allowed to have your opinion. But it doesn't really matter. Either way, is it more toward like if you even say negative things like, I don't really appreciate what the author did in this story in the example, Mishpacha magazine. They don't have any magazines here. They didn't list any magazines they have a problem with, but something like that.
Well, if it's a matter of opinion, I can say an opinion, even if it's, I think if I think it's negative, it's opinion. It's not saying something bad about the author itself. Or we're talking about the article that he wrote. We're talking a specific article or a specific thing. So I'm giving my honest opinion about what I think about this article. I'm not talking anything bad about the author that wrote it. I don't know him. I just
Right. It's just like, okay, this is just my opinion. Everyone has a right to their own opinion, and I don't even know this author, and I'm sure they're amazing. It could even be like, I've read this an article from this author before, but this specific article I don't really appreciate. And everyone has a right to their opinion. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm trying to think of what the answer is going to be, but no, great point. Like everyone has, if we all, I mean, we could sometimes do better keeping our opinions to ourselves, but I think that if it's a general discussion, then I totally understand that. Does anyone think that it would not be okay? That I know you're working out. I'm very proud of you. If you want, you can even type in the chat if that's easier. And if that doesn't work at all, you don't need to do that at all. I don't work out. I don't know how it goes.
He's just agreeing with me, so you have no word to say. He's just agreeing with me.
Oh, Dad, are you gonna take that? You always gonna keep back talk Shabbos. Right at his announcements. He's gonna come back with something. All right. So generally, any negativity that could damage your reputation of magazine or is derogatory about a specific author is Lashon Hara. It may be permitted to discuss a matter of taste. However, more often than not, it is Lashon Hara. So I think in the situation, like, hey, everyone has a right to their opinion, but there's not really a constructive purpose to say your opinion. And maybe someone does end up knowing somebody and making comments about like an author of one of the articles, or I don't know. They also discuss newspapers, any part of it, and they may end up meeting someone, and I don't know, there could be a job offer at some point. And the hard thing is that we always need to realize we don't really know what's going to come from our words, and we don't know if it's going to end up causing them harm, God forbid. So it's better to just keep it to ourselves. But definitely everyone has the right to their opinion.
That's why it's all about media and newspaper. Everything about it is Lashon Hara. Stay away from media. Stay away from the newspaper, and never talk about it.
That's probably the best move.
Stay away from the news.
Yep. Okay, stop. Okay, this is the last one. Oh my God, I'm gonna take a total class. I'm gonna say this one for next time. You know, I'm gonna say this one because I do want to do part of principle 4. All right. So principle 4. Sorry, Ma. We're gonna get to these questions next time. The first part of principle 4, the first section, is basically a summary of principle 3, which is really good. It is forbidden to speak against your friend, even and especially to their face, and if it's true, if it will shame him. Not just demeaning things in general, but mentioning the bad deeds of their relatives or the bad deeds that they previously committed. And this is bein adam lemakom, between man and God, and bein adam lechavero, between man and his friend. If they have since done teshuva, because they could have done teshuva since then. Even if you saw them doing something recently that is questionable according to Jewish law, it is forbidden to demean him, not to his face, if not in accordance with the qualifications of section 7. All right. There's no distinction between reporting him to have transgressed a positive and negative commandment, which is well known to be forbidden, right? Since they'll certainly be shamed before the hearer, the listener. Here is a word, but I know people are more comfortable with the listener. even if it is something that not many Jews are careful about, which shall not be greatly demeaned. Example, if he does not want to learn Torah, or if he's stingy and does not honor Shabbos, God forbid. We wouldn't say that these are well-known mitzvahs, but they are mitzvahs nevertheless, and we don't want them to be demeaned at all. It is still forbidden, in all caps. It is still forbidden. According to his words, the person does not fulfill the Torah. It is forbidden to speak against someone in the branches of the mitzvos. If it goes against the rule of the Torah or the rabbis, it is forbidden, even if not spoken to his face, even if it is true, and even if the speaker himself saw him do it. Right? We said even if it's true, especially makes it lashon hara. Right? The din judgment has many qualifications. If the person is a regular plain man of Israel, right? If he's just a regular guy, he's not considered to be a Rasha or a tzaddik. So we have our scales of merit and our scales of guilt. If we're trying, it was like, don't judge, but also scales of merit and guilt, right? So if he's a regular person of Israel and he generally guards himself, but he may stumble into a sin occasionally, and it is most likely that he committed the sin unintentionally, or did not know that it was a sin, or thought that the ruling of the Jewish law was a chumrah, a stringency, right? So he could have been completely ignorant of the mitzvah, or maybe he thought like, oh, I didn't know this was an actual mitzvah, but rather chumrah, a stringency that people take on. I didn't know that was a straight up Jewish law. Even if someone saw him transgress this several times, he should be given the benefit of the doubt, also in all caps. He should be given the benefit of the doubt. I wrote this myself, so the emphasis was for me, but I just want to point it out. And he should be judged on the scales of merit. Yes. And this is from Vayikra. And the positive commandment, and on the scales of righteousness shall you judge your friend. That's like, don't really judge them, but if you're going to judge them on the scales of merit. It is forbidden to expose him, because this would cause him shame before his people and even in his own eyes. It is also forbidden to hate him for this. And this is connected to Principle 6, Sections 8, and Principle 7, Section 7, Part A. So we did discuss this, or at least almost get there before I started from the beginning, because a lot of people missed the beginning of the class. But we're going to get there. But it appears as if the sinner knew that the Isser prohibition, that they knew that this was the Isser prohibition, and they intentionally sinned, God forbid. And this is an obvious prohibition. So an example would be like, God forbid, eating pork. Most people know that eating pig is not kosher, and he intentionally did it. Chas v'shalom. There should be some things taken into consideration, like, is he a regular plain man of Israel, who usually guards himself from sin, and have they been seen transgressing it once in secret? Right, and the sinner should have repented, and he has been in turmoil over it. So they're saying, like, is this a one-time thing and they're ashamed of it? We don't really know if it's right. We don't know if something is a continuous act, or if even since they did that act, if they repented since then. And the fool who mentions a sin will be sinful and guilty. It cannot be revealed in public or to the judges of the city, even if there was a second witness. The speaker is not allowed to be believed, but he should reprove him in private by being gentle and fence himself off from the factors that led him to sin. So give himself barriers, like, I know that I sinned, and I'm going to try to guard myself from sinning again. If there was a Torah scholar who is a fear of sin, who was overpowered by the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, right? It is forbidden to publicize his sin. As Chazal said in Brachos, if you've seen a Torah scholar who transgressed at night, do not think even of him in the daytime, for he has certainly repented. So if you see someone, and this is, they said a plain man of Israel, obviously a righteous person is different, but a righteous person we know, like if we see someone who we know is righteous, and we're like, that doesn't fit their character to have done that. I can't believe they did that. And if we think the next day, like, man, I want to tell someone, like, this person isn't as righteous as they say they are, as we think they are. Okay, maybe they are, and we're told that the more righteous the person, the more of a stronger of an evil inclination they have. We think that these great people, they didn't have such a great evil inclination. Obviously, they're so great, but it's actually the opposite. So we could see that maybe they chas v'shalom fell into sin, but since then they've already repented and they've already put a fence for themselves to not lead them to sin again. So now we're on Principle 4, Section 5. And thank you, everybody, for joining me, all my wonderful friends and family. And I hope to see you all next week for the rest of Principle 4.
Yay, Tookie.
Yes, thank you. Bezrat Hashem, I will not be there next week.
Okay, no problem. You can always watch it on YouTube, because I'll be posting it on my YouTube channel, then I'll post the link.
The little sorry for me that I will miss your class next week because I will leave the day of my flight home.
All right. Oh my gosh. Have a safe flight. Have a safe trip. Nasiya tova.
Man, thank you. Hopefully they'll be in the sky by then. So we need a daven in the sky will be open and I'll be able to go.
Amen. Yeah, please daven for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
And have a great rest of your evening, everybody. Thank you. Bye.